Hello, welcome to the next Shitterbowl part. This is turn 19, I believe. So, Archaecephaly continues the trend of just having great unexpected events in his provinces, but it looks like he didn't get any luck. He did, however, get a hero, Anthromachus, an old hoplite of great renown. As a youngster, he led his men in the face of hopeless odds and emerged victorious. His reputation has grown ever since. He has commanded hundreds of armies and is reputedly immortal. Anthromachus' soldiers have never broken in battle. Wow, this guy is really good. +3, and he can command 160 units. Great leader. Fantastic for your big armies. Even better than the Strategos. But he is really great too. +2 morale. The more morale you can get on your units, the longer they'll stay in fight, which is really critical. Looks like he's casting Astral Projection on Province 4. I have no clue as to why he's casting it here. Archaecephaly, there are a lot of astral nations in the game presently, so it is sort of dangerous to be doing things like astral projection or mind hunting, but Archaecephaly is a cheater nation that gets healers, so it doesn't really matter if they get feeble-minded or whatever else, they just heal it immediately, so it's no big deal. That said, I don't really know what information he's hoping to glean from Province 4. What is he moving over here? Just a woman sight searching. He's building a palisade here in this wood. I approve of this sight searching. This looks good. A few more, like if he could search for air, death, blood sort of is superfluous, but if he could search for air and death, this would almost be perfect sight searching. This is really what you're shooting for generally, is sight searching that looks like that. The only way this could be better is if the numbers were higher, if they were like 3s. He is forging a lightning rod, which I have to assume is a mistake, because there's no reason to make this thing. It's not a very good weapon. Shock resistance, whatever, you can get that elsewhere. And the corpse construction bonus is just totally useless. You don't, Archaecephaly does not have air and death magic on one mage. They don't have that at all. So there's no using that. Maybe Master of the Way can get it? No, he can get air, but no death. Maybe there's another mage that I'm missing. Maybe this guy? No. He's building a castle here. He's getting this. He's building a palisade here, just sight searching. I mean, this all looks pretty standard affair for Archaecephaly, just building up troops, building up mages. He has a lot of mages. I don't think he has as many as Ulm, because he spent so much money on his infrastructure. But he does have a lot. And he's only going to have more. He built his palisade this turn, so he's getting a fortress. He gave this lightning rod to the mounted commander for whatever reason. And he's moving over here. I have to wonder why. Maybe to pick up this troop. I hope it's not to try this province again, because he basically tried to take that province with an army that was effectively this already, and that was basically Archaecephaly's biggest blunder all game in terms of gold lost. I don't really know about that. Forging a black steel tower shield. He's starting to forge a lot of stuff. If you're going to forge things, like here, this mage is Earth 2. Get up to Construction 4 and make the Earth shoes. And then give them to this guy so he becomes Earth 3 while wearing them. And then he can make this item, the Dwarven Hammer, which requires you to be level 3, but it gives a forge bonus of 2. So you'll take 2 gems off the price of all items you make. A very useful piece of magical equipment to make. He is hiring the Master Druid down here in 83. I don't know why. I guess to take these indie provinces. That's smart. But he should have taken them a long, long, long time ago. 10 turns ago, at least. So Ulm is fighting independence over here with this big army. I don't know how I feel about the grid being turned on. Kind of looks ugly. This is really just a test to see if any Olmites will get killed by friendly fire. If the mages will take them out. Looks like not. Looks like the mages are scripted now to cast Earth Meld. So the poor Indies just get chopped up. Oh, wait, there was some friendly fire there with the crossbowmen. But no kills, just little bits of damage on the Black Knights. And a nice chunk of gold to supplement the insane event Ulm got last turn. And what is he doing? Looks like he's moving some troops here to 9, which is a pretty big army, but looks like it's mostly militia. He might win this. I guess he has Legions of Steel mages, so that's solid. It's just these guys don't have Black Steel full plate. These units are from his starting expansion army. Isn't that crazy that these Olmites are still here? They're still kicking. We still have, you know, blind and crippled Pikeneer, who's for some reason being sent to 9. Maybe it's to die. Although if that was the case, then he should, really we should make a brigade that looks like this. And, you know, just do something like this, you know. Call it the Wounded Warriors unit. I think this would be a really effective strategy, you know. These guys are really good in combat, like this guy, blind, limp. This guy also blind and limp. So, they're really strong fighters, and I think Ulm would really get a big power spike if he scripted that way. Making a castle here. Just recruit. I don't like to make the shield guys because their defense is so poor that it generally doesn't make a difference. But granted, if you do get a shield hit, the protection plus the base protection, you know, it's like 40. Here it's 38, but still it's so high that you'll probably take no damage at all. So that's solid. Looks like his god's going down to 4, so that's interesting. His god will be astrally projected by Archaecephaly. I wonder if his god will make the Archaecephaly mage retarded. If he'll break his brain. If not, then Archaecephaly will have information on Ulm's god. Building a citadel here. Oliver Twist is taking some troops and going to the fort. Oh, and yes, this is the interesting move of the turn, is he is taking these guys, and he's not going for the heavy cavalry, he's actually going to attack his ally, supposedly, Agartha. This is a very scary line of extremely tanky Olmites, and they're going to be even more tanky when Legions of Steel is up. This commander isn't scripted, so I have to hope for Ulm's sake that he's not just going to go on the attack mode and just like run in front of his whole army and start bashing them with his Morningstar and shield, because he'd probably, well, I don't know, he might actually just survive because he's so freaking tanky, but so this is an interesting invasion. Not a very big army. The siege strength of this group, yeah, it's only 65. It's pretty poor. He made a bunch of sappers, who I see are going over here to attack Agartha. Not what I expected. I figured they'd be going for Marignan. But honestly, both players are very easy targets. I mean, maybe Ulm doesn't have all the perfect information, but yeah, both of them would just be like really easy to swat away. However, this army does have statues in it, so I'm sure he'll win. You know, he's got pretty overwhelming firepower here with the mage support he's bringing in. Honestly, the best thing Agartha could do would be to retreat. But I don't know if he's expecting an invasion. I think if he sees this, he knows. He should know something's up if this, like, this is pretty obvious. There's no reason for Ulm to come down out of the mountains unless he's, you know, planning on going to war. Like, maybe he'd go to 38, but I would at least be highly suspicious, especially with this army also conveniently showing up on my border on the exact same turn. He's also hiring mercenaries in 48 as well, but I think Arcacephaly was hiring those at a higher price. Making sappers in his castle. These guys are great at breaking down walls. More Black Lords. Still not doing anything with this Dwarven Hammer, just 15 Earth Gems. Just held up in an item that's not doing anything. Could he make anything else? I mean, he's got astral stuff. This is a cool item that only Ulm can get. It's useful against sacred thugs because it gives them the fatigue damage thing that will always connect in an AoE. Not much else to say this turn. Looks like Ulm just steadily building up, working towards Construction 6. He will have Construction 4 next turn, the first person to have access to greater magic items, which will substantially improve his magic path diversity with boosters and other powerful items that he can get. So, what is Marignon up to? So there was a battle on Fascia this turn. This is Fascia's whole army, everything they have to bear, mercenaries, mages, the whole communion. But Marignon just left a couple dudes, just like a bard and his assassin bro. And the bard gets killed immediately by an arrow. And the other guy gets mind burned before he even gets up to the front line. So very brave. Very brave of those two men, but killed for free. Still, provided useful info. For example, Marignon is fully aware of Fascia's god, and if he's a conniving player, he could sell this information off to the other players. Or if the other players had a scout in this province, they would know as well. And an unexpected event, a band of brigands has taken advantage of the poor defenses and are trying to take control of the province. So yeah, a bunch of villains showed up and took the province away. Lost some income in Bogatin. Wow! Just, what an amazing event. Huge amount of gold and boots of long strides. This is why people will still say Misfortune 2, even though it has all these bad events. Also, looks like he couldn't afford the 600 gold investment. Honestly, thank God for his sake. If he blew that money, that would have been really bad. Yeah, I mean, having no PD in your province will, well, this will happen. Like, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Oh, but there is a siege that's coming. Marignon is walking with all these troops onto Fascia. What is the siege strength of this? 69 plus 77. So about 150. Honestly, not that intimidating. This was scary maybe 8-9 turns ago. This was like pretty much unstoppable. But we're on turn 19. Fascia's got a communion up. He's got mages. Mind burns are very much on the table. I mean, the script looks okay. You know, you've got knights on basically every position, all spread out, which I think is solid. But your front line is pathetic. It's super tiny. These guys in the back are scripted to cast Fire Elemental, but they're in the back, so the Fire Elementals would be like back here. They'll bump into your crossbowmen, and the AI will just not know what to do. And the Fire Elementals here will just have to walk a really long distance before they get to the battle. I'm not even sure you'll get all of them out, because they may just get, these mages may just get targeted and killed. That's not to say that wouldn't happen if they were at the front, but I mean, if they were here, at least the Fire Elementals could support the Macemen in a battle. As it is right here, there's no way the Fire Elementals are going to contribute to the front line. Like, the crossbowmen are going to get got. This front is just too tiny. Yeah, I mean, you're really leaving it up all to these knights if they can hold the line by themselves, which they definitely can't. Now, the knights in the flanks, especially this party down here, is going to be really deadly for Fascia. We'll have to see if Fascia is patrolling on his capital or if he's going in to hide for a siege. Looks like he's also sneaking some assassins over here into Archacephaly. I wonder what his plans are. He has Laurentius with his boots of long strides. Archacephaly got these boots too. I didn't really comment on them because they're not that interesting. I mean, they let you move really far, which is cool. Like, wow, look at this map move. He can move anywhere. He can even walk right onto Fascia itself. He could walk onto the Olmish army. His research is definitely improving, so that's an absolute plus. Recruiting another Grand Master and a Witch Hunter here. All looks solid. He still make a Palisade here this turn. Wait, he still is? Or no, he just started this turn. Interesting. That's very bold of Marignon to decide to start making a Palisade when an Agarthan army and an Olmish army appear on the provinces adjacent to it at the same time. He must be supremely confident in his diplomatic abilities that he's just going to let this happen. Because if either of these players had a scout in this province, or indeed they just looked at it and saw this lone guy sitting here, which generally always means he's making a fort, then it wouldn't be a bad idea to walk in and blow it up, you know? Like, just shut that down before it really gets off the ground. Sad, he site searched here for fire, but he didn't find the Fountain of Fire. Maybe you need Fire 3? And he's probably not going to do that. But that event definitely triggers that magic site. It might need Fire 3. It might also be gone. Like, it might be a one-time deal, just for that one turn, and if you don't go there and site search it immediately, you lose out. And he did skip one turn, so that sucks. And Marignon really needs the gem income. Like, this gem income is so pitiful. This is so wretched. Like, the later the game goes on, just the more crippling and devastating this lack of gem income will be. And furthermore, just the lack of mages in general is really devastating to him. He really needs to win this war. He's sort of all in at this point. And I think that's a problem. Like, there was a lot of dawdling to get to this point. Fascia was being besieged, but he didn't really... I guess he didn't feel like he had enough to stick it, so that's why he wanted to pull out. But if that's the case, why didn't you just bring up everything in the first place? Like, there were knights sitting on Marignon for turns and turns and turns and turns. At the very least, those knights could have been taking indie provinces. But instead, commander points were spent on making these things. Decent researchers, but totally useless for fighting this war. This war, which has become a total war. It's become a complete and utter waste of resources for both Marignon and Fascia. And even if Marignon takes the capital at this point, for what? What does it add? I mean, you get a lot of gems. That's great. It's not even close to the amount of gems you need to be making. Like, you'll still be half the amount of gems that Archacephaly is making, or Agartha is making. So even if you take the capital, it's not worth it. It's actually not worth it. The gold income would be a great boon, that's for sure. That would be a lot more relevant than the gems. But just the later the game goes on, the more the lack of gems is going to start hurting. Just the fewer gems you have, the smaller your options are. The fewer options you've got. Oh, he's recruiting mercs. Ugh! 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 Oh my god. Well, he's certainly going to win these mercenaries away from Archacephaly and Ulm. But, yeah, any economic advantage Marignon has in the war has definitely been destroyed. It's gone. It's absolutely gone. I mean, like, maybe he still makes more money per turn, but he makes less gems per turn. He definitely has less overall gold because of this spending. His army is definitely a lot smaller because of that spending. Like, Turns were spent making useless swordsmen. Turns were spent making useless crossbowmen. Turns were spent making architects. Turns were spent making initiates instead of, you know, witch hunters. Imagine if this army, instead of like 5 paladins and 2 architects and a random mercenary, was these 2 witch hunters and then like 5 or 6 more witch hunters, and they were all being scripted to cast lesser fire elemental. Now that would be a very serious problem that Fascia wouldn't have an answer to. Mindburn isn't going to work against lesser fire elementals. Lightning Bolt probably, I guess, would, sort of. But I don't know, maybe I'm being, I mean, no, this is just retarded. This is just stupid. But maybe he'll still win anyway. It seems weird to invest like 1,300 gold in mercenaries on the turn that you're doing your big offensive. Like you would imagine you'd want those mercs to come in the turn that you know, before you start your big invasion, so that way you have them with you to engage. Maybe he thinks Fascia will go into the castle walls, and he's very confident that Fascia will do that. In which case, it's alright that he delayed the mercenary hiring a little bit. Or rather, he's just doing it all at once. He's actually taking this paladin and all of these knights and crossbowmen and moving them back to his fortress in Marignan. I have no idea why. Well, actually, yes, I do, of course. No, this makes sense. It's because he's worried about one of these 2 players getting in on him. And that makes sense. That's totally reasonable. He's worried about being hit in the flank. Although, I think, even if Marignan brought his entire army to bear, this one Olmish stack could wipe it out utterly, because his magic just isn't good enough. Knights of the Chalice are not going to work against Earth Meld. They just become extremely ineffective. And it's not like any of other Marignan's troops are noteworthy. The crossbowmen would do the best against Olmites. And he does have a number of them. So they would be very killy, granted. But anyway, enough harping on Marignan. He's even recruiting these guys, the Druid, on Marignan itself. I guess to site search, perhaps, or maybe to assist in the defense of the south. I don't know. I feel like Marignan still has a lot of money, and I don't know. I mean, it's not like the man at arms is not a bad unit. This guy's good. Yeah, I mean, he's a little overpriced, but he's got bodyguard, which is cool. His stats are decent. His sword is, well, better than Agartha's. He's got a shield. It's not bad. Like this is not a bad unit. Or the Royal Guard too. Like these guys are totally outshined. They get outperformed by the Knights of the Chalice. But they do have higher defense skill by default. They also have 21 protection by default. So if you casted, I don't know how Marignan would get Earth, but if he had Earth and casted Legions of Steel, these guys would become Olmites. That's pretty amazing. So, I don't know. I feel like Marignan's doing himself a disservice by not considering anything that's not a crossbow or a Knight of the Chalice or a Flagellant, basically ignoring everything that's not sacred or as crossbows. But still, maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe this play of his will work out perfectly, and I will just have to eat my words. So Agartha fought 2 battles against Indies this turn. Here you can see the Legions of Steel going off on his troops, and then the Strength of Giants. These guys, when buffed to 14 strength, they're hitting for 19 damage, and their protection is now 18, meaning the Feeble Militia with 7 protection and 10 HP are very liable to just pop in one hit, and their damage is not enough to do anything to the average Agarthan. unless they get a lucky, like, above average roll, and the Agartha gets a below average roll. And Agartha wins that battle without losing a single unit. Very well done. And here is another battle. Here we have the Sentinels. Pretty fantastic units. This army was already sort of cleaned up by Agartha earlier, so he just has some troglodytes come in and kill everything. Although, again, this was sort of the same problem as before. The troglodytes just got there first, and so they took the brunt of the punishment. Still, I believe this is a valuable province. Oh yeah, this is a really lucrative province. Those troglodytes will pay for themselves in just 2 turns. They'll already be paid for. And so Agartha is aware of Fascia's entire army. He also saw Fascia's god, and he knows exactly what magic he has. Oh no, what a terrible event. Death scales, extra heat, loss of population. Yeah, that sucks. So he is moving over here to 50 to attack these Indies. So I think he will escape from Ulm, pretty sure, and his god is running back into his hole. He has his insane Mason. Wait, insane Mason. Klaus left Ulm when his master, one of the few remaining sorcerers, was caught by the emerging Iron Inquisition. He traveled far and wide and visited many courts of the time, where he mastered the art of diplomacy. When he heard rumors of the opulent halls and magical riches of Agartha, he decided to make them his. Agartha was a broken nation in need of guidance, and he felt a need to guide them by gathering mages who had fled the Iron Inquisition, and with economic aid from the Emerald Emperor of Pythium, he organized the human conquest of the cavern realm of Agartha. He orchestrated the reforming of Agarthan society and created the Golem cult for his fugitive mages. He made himself a power behind the oracles, and rules the Golem crafters with iron hand and silver tongue. He alone among the humans remembers how the cult was formed and how the oracles accepted human worship. Klaus now serves the emerging god, certain that it will further his interests and power. Klaus is an skilled diplomat and spy, should he care to venture outside his opulent chambers. He is also a most skilled mage-smith and golem crafter. Blessed by some unknown fate, he has lived far beyond a normal human lifespan, but old age is starting to take his toll on him. So this mage is just insanely good. Like, old age is really hitting him bad. I don't know what the description is talking about. It just started to hit him. It's been going on for a long time, and his stats are really crippled. I don't know if that means he's going to start getting diseased and afflictions, but Agartha does have unaging on his bless, so he doesn't age that fast. Indeed, he ages 25 years every century, so pretty slow. But look at this guy's insane. He's a mason. He's got a forge bonus. He's a spy. He's got dark vision, of course, but he's also got great siege strength and siege defense. He's stealthy. Wow, he's sacred too. Great researcher. He's a priest. Def 3. Amazing. And he's a golem crafter. Ulm really lost their best mage here. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know Ulmites knew death, death magic. I guess he's from early age Ulm. But with this guy, it just opens up so much. I mean, now with this level of death, you can actually consider going down and summoning. Where are they? Where are the death guys? This guy, the Wraith Lord. This is an incredibly overpowered commander. Granted, Conjuration 7, but Agartha's playing for late game here. With a Skull Staff and the Helmet of Death item, I think is what it is. He could get his guy up to Death 5 and cast this. This thing can win wars all on its own. But there are lots of other fantastic death spells that this opens up access to. You know, Pale Riders is a fantastic spell to spend your death gems on. I don't know if Agartha really wants to do that because they can summon Umbrals, which are really cool. They're basically like giant blobs of HP, but they're hard to hit because they're ethereal. So they're like the best chaff. They're like better than skeletons. So these are a fantastic way to spend your death gems. Yeah, just really all around super cool commander to get, and death opens up a lot. Death 3 opens up a lot that you can do with magical items. But he is currently spending his time building a citadel. I think this is an excellent choice. Getting a citadel, you can get more mages a turn. You can become Ulm. You know, that's like partly a reason to want to take over Ulm is to take their citadels, because then you get 3 commander points a turn. However, it looks like he is fleeing from this province with his mage. I mean, I get it. You can't do anything more with him, but what's he doing? Walking over here with this guy? I guess just to site search, I suppose. But he is building armies. This guy's site searching. So he's not leaving his frontier too undefended. He will suffer some early defeats because his army is just not very big. It's just not very sizable compared to Ulm's. I'm curious if the reason Archaecephaly is moving his troops over here is because him and Ulm are in on an agreement to attack Agartha, which would be really weird considering the messages Ulm and Agartha have been sending each other, especially about Archaecephaly, calling him a pederast, I believe. But I'm curious, so we're going to see another war break out between who I thought were the 2 most unlikely candidates to go to war with each other, but in terms of economic disparity, you're looking at the top of the food chain and then the bottom. So I don't think Agartha will win the early part of the war, but with good defensive play, I think he could hold on indefinitely, especially with statues. And he's making more every single turn. Yeah, I mean, just the more of these he amasses, the stronger he gets. And Ulm is not researching evocation, so here's Fascia's Triton army going underwater. Looks like he goes up and tries to fight. Oh, his commander got hit with poison. I guess his commander died from poison. But pretty close. These sea trolls are like kind of unkillable, like super high regeneration and really high HP values. So it's not like, you know, I mean, their protection kind of sucks. Their defense skill's good. No, it's not. They have water shield. All right, their defense skill sucks. They just have water shield, which presumably they'll always have because there's a Hydromancer back here. So that's another dead mercenary company. He got ill omens in Orman, and then immediately knights attacked the province and just took it from him. So that province is probably gone forever. And what is he doing on Fascia? Looks like he's holding in. He's sitting back. He's going to let Marignon walk on top of him, and he's going to begin a siege. I think this is great play from Fascia. This is exactly what you want to do. A lot of new players, when they get confronted with a problem, they always want to do something and just keep doing and doing and doing. But that can lead you down the path to ruin very quickly. And sieges are sort of what makes you a good or bad player. You know, that really draws the line between the two. Bad players generally sally forth out of sieges. Which is not to say that that is a bad move inherently, but it shows a lack of understanding of the advantage of sieging and the idea that if I don't break the siege, I lose the game. but that's not true more often than not. Even now, Fascia has another fort up. Like, if Fascia got sieged 9, 8 turns ago, yes, that would have been crushing to him, because then he couldn't do anything. He's making new guys. He's making more Colossi Light Infantry. He's already got more. He's going to have another one in 2 turns. He is bringing a mage over here to this province. What's he bringing over here? He's bringing just random commanders, it seems. But he's going to be able to make more mages outside of his capital. So this move is, by Marignon, you know, it's not going to be as backbreaking as it would have been earlier. And I think the fact that he was, like, sort of, you know, like, expanding over here, trying to expand into this and failing, expanding down here, he had a bunch of knights sitting on his cap doing nothing. He just had a lot of troops throughout this entire campaign not being actively involved. I think that could have made a difference. Fascia's going for Alteration 4. So he gets Mistform, he gets Numbness, Iron Skin, Luck. Luck is a great spell to, if you can spam it. Putting this on your troops, even though it only hits in a very small AoE, is really, really, really amazing for making them tanky. He gets a lot of neat spells here. Quickness is cool. Slow is... it can be useful. Temper Flesh is great for thugs. Curse of Stones is... It kills the mage if he's not really high in Earth, like Earth 5 or 6. But the curse does last. Once he does it, even if he dies, he'll be good. And it's a really nasty debuff. This would be really terrible for Ulm to deal with. Body Ethereal, fantastic for thugs. Sadly not caster level, so won't work in a communion, but you also get Swarm. Swarm is a fantastic spell. He doesn't have nature by default, but he is getting a bunch of nature gems now thanks to this Kelpsy, which is a cool little site. He's also building a palisade up here in 2, which is quite bold. I mean, I suppose Marignon isn't doing anything about it, but that is a bit of a bold move. He is also trying to hire these mercenaries, but he's not going to win. Excuse me. Yeah, pretty standard recruitment here. So when Fascia's besieged, he will have Alteration 3. He won't have Construction 3. Dogs of Gold and Silver. Oh, neat. I've never seen those before. He could get Legions of Steel if he got to Construction 3. He could do it right now. I think that would be more important. I think that would be a better get than the stuff from Alteration 3. But frankly, I'm a sucker for anything Earth, so perhaps that's just my bias and not really rational thinking. Recruiting some underwater Triton troopers. He is forming a little pocket-sized army. Maybe he's thinking of going on the aggressive move. He's hiring mercs down here in 101. Well, alright. I guess Marignon's denying that. And Fascia's got a really detailed scouting network going on in Marignon presently. Looks like he's also trying to get some intel on Ulm. A little on Agartha, too. So that's cool. Anyway, so that is the end of this turn. It looks like turn 20 will mark the closing days of the, or maybe not closing days, but chapter 2 of the war between Fascia and Marignon, and the start of a war between the 2 primary Earth powers. So, until then.